camera and strap in. It's time for another episode of TOGCHAT Live. Get ready for 60 minutes of wall-to-wall photography, including photo news and tips, along with your photography questions in real time, with answers from your host, Olympus Visionary Joe Edelman.
Hey gang, good Wednesday evening. Thanks for joining me for episode number 208 of TOGCHAT Live. I hope that you're all healthy and, of course, staying safe. And don't forget, practice your social distancing, right? Of course. Hey, look, I'm already seeing photographers here from all over the world right now. So please be sure, check in, leave a comment, let me know you're here. And let me know where you're watching from. I mean, I got Gabe here from Miami. Caleb's here from down in Austin, Texas. Lynn from New York. Let's see, we got LGT coming from Rugby, England. Yeah, Beverly's in Ohio. Alvin's in Virginia. I got Jim in Maine. I got people from all over the place here. Anthony down in North Carolina. So as always, gang, thank you. It's always so cool to see people from all around the world tuning in to chat about their love of photography. I mean, it's just fun. So I want all of you to do me a favor, right? And look like down there, down just below where I'm pointing, right? So if you don't see anything there, you know, like a share window, let me go ahead and share with you the link that you need. How about if we do that, right? So that you can go ahead and you can share tog.chat/live and let your friends know that we are streaming live right now on YouTube. As always, Twitter, Facebook, they're the fastest, easiest, quickest way to get the word out, okay? So here we are. How can I help you with your photography tonight? Start posting your questions. I'll do my best to answer them all in the next 60 minutes. Remember, this is a gear-free zone. I'll discuss anything having to do with the hows and whys behind creating great images. And, that might include gear if it's a question about how to do something. Just don't ask me what your next camera should be. In fact, don't ask anyone on YouTube about a decision like that. Please, seriously. All right, so let's dive in. I've got a few things that I want to share with you tonight before we get to the questions, and hopefully some things that might be helpful to you, okay? So first, I know that, in this new world of working from home, sitting in front of Zoom, meetings all day long, a lot of you are starting to up your game by using your real cameras now that most of the companies have opened up the ability to use them of webcams without you having to go out and buy special hardware. So I wanted to share a resource that I stumbled on recently for green screens, and I wanted to share with you something that I learned about green screens from this resource because it kind of really blew my mind. Now, I'm not going to go into a ton of green screen detail tonight, don't worry, but I will tell you I'm working on a video that is just about the lighting and exposing part of green screens for both videos and stills, but also importantly about using the right kind of green screen. And that's what I wanted to share with you tonight because honestly, I'm kind of excited about this. So a little over a week ago, I found a company, and I'm just going to switch my screen over here so that I can share their website with you. This company is called ChromaKey.com, and they're in California, and they make and they sell green screens. But more importantly, after I found out about this company, I also learned all about something called foam-backed green screens. Now, I'm sure that all of you have, seen on websites like Amazon or B&H or Adorama or pretty much anywhere that you can get green screens. You can get them in muslin or cloth or seamless paper, or you can get the collapsible kind that are, like the huge reflectors, or you can even get the ones that kind of work like the old movie projector screens where it's like in a casing and you pull it up and it's got a rod that holds it open. You can even go out and buy Chroma Key colored paint. But the biggest challenge with green screens is lighting them so that the light is even and so that the light doesn't reflect back to your subject and create a green cast all around the edges of your subject. So that's where this foam backed green screen comes in. So this is a piece of it, okay? And I'm gonna bring it real close to the camera here and let the camera refocus. Let me get out of the way. There we go. So it's 3 layers. Let's see if we can actually get it to go on the edge here. There we go. It's 3 layers, right? You've got the soft, kind of very felt-like face, which is the part that's made for keying. The middle part is basically flexible foam core. And then on the back, it's a nylon backing, okay? So what's great about these foam-backed green screens is, unlike most of the other green screen materials, muslin, cloth, paper especially, paint on a wall, these things absorb the light. They don't reflect as much light back. So like here in my studio, in fact, let me see if I can turn my key off for just a second. I'm gonna, and I just realized you guys are seeing right through me. Look at that. So yeah, let me, that's pretty good, Joe. Let me turn the key off, then you'll be able to see it. So there we go. There's the material, right? Okay, let's do that one more time. So let me put it up there so you can see. We'll let the camera focus. Good, okay. Joe's an idiot that forgets about his green screen, right? So, but to give you a sense of how close I am, I'm closer to my green screen than is considered to be ideal. From where I'm sitting at my desk, I can reach out and I can touch the green screen, right? So that's like, it's like an arm's length away from me. So it's a challenge, and this would be no different. Like this space that I'm working in right now, it's a small guest room. It's an 8 foot by 10 foot guest bedroom is where I have this whole rig set up, okay? In fact, here, if I go to the profile set, you can see how close that green screen is, right? So if you're in the market for a green screen, I highly recommend this company, ChromaKey.com. In fact, I will, let me switch back over to the website there. I'm gonna go ahead and grab their URL, and I am gonna give this to you, okay? There we go. They're based in California, as I mentioned, but even cooler yet, they do custom sizes. So like the one that I have here, again, I'm not sure if you can actually tell. Well, you can see it's keyed right now, but it's a 6 foot by 10 foot custom sized backdrop, which was awesome. Their customer service, outstanding. I wound up speaking with the boss right after I placed my order because I thought I had messed something up with the order. This guy, super quick to respond to emails, really, really, really helpful. So if you do order from them, let them know I told you about them. And by the way, I did buy my custom background. I'm not being paid for this mention. I don't make any money from it. I'm just passing along a great resource to you, period. Okay? All right, so another little heads up for you, and this next gadget, I'll do a video about this in a couple of weeks, probably about 2 weeks after I get to use it, but it just arrived today, and I'm kind of excited about it. Now, most of you have heard of Wacom, right? The company that makes the tablets. I use, this tablet that you see right there. That's the Intuos Pro. There's the model number on the back if you're interested, etc. Okay? So I've worked with the Wacom tablets for ages, and honestly, until recently, they were the only company that I knew of that made tablets, except for a couple companies that made some really cheap little tablets and stuff like that. I recently was contacted by a representative from a company called XP Pen. Now, I'll be really honest with you. My first thought was, okay, it's a Chinese company that's like knocking off Wacom, right? So I did a little bit of research, and definitely not just a Chinese company that's knocking off Wacom. I will tell you that I would suggest thinking of this company kind of as the Godox of tablets. They've got an incredible product line. They are developing a great reputation, and that's from all the research that I did online, because before I got back in touch with them, I was like, okay, I've never heard of these people. I want to find out what they're all about, and they're much more reasonable. So, make a long story short for now, they sent me this tablet, and I'll show it to you here in the box first. It's called the Innovator 16, right? Now, you guys are seeing this thing even before I get to use it, so I'm not going to do the whole unboxing thing. I think that's a waste of time, but I do want to pull it up here and let you take a look at it, because here's where the really cool part comes in, okay? And actually here, let me, just really quick, I'll switch over and I'll show you their website, and then I'll give you guys the link to it here. So let me go ahead and grab the link. So if you guys want to check while I'm talking, you can certainly do that. And there you go. Sato, look, man, I'm going to be honest, okay? I'm in the middle of doing a presentation here. So if my audio sounds tinny to you, please understand it's kind of like putting a JPEG online, all right? Maybe it sounds tinny to you. It doesn't sound tinny to the next guy. So I could do one of two things. Like, should I just stop what I'm doing? And should I try and fix my audio? Or would you like me to actually educate people and you, okay? So listen, I appreciate it, guys. But, you know, something short of like, hey, we can't hear you. You got no audio? Maybe send me a message, right? Thank you. Okay. Anyway, sorry, gang. I just don't get the sense behind that kind of stuff. So here we go. Here's what's cool about this tablet. It's a graphic display tablet, right? It's only 9mm thick. So that's how thick it is. Now, just in case you're not getting what I mean, graphic display tablet, it displays the picture, your desktop. It basically works as a second monitor on your computer. It's a 16:9 format. You can, of course, reverse it, because for me, I'm a lefty, so like I need to do it, you know, this way. It's 1920 by 1080 pixel dimension graphic display. Seriously cool. So I'm going to incorporate this into my retouching workflow starting this weekend, and I'll give you guys a video in about 2 weeks with my thoughts. I'm pretty excited about being able to do the retouching work directly on the image. It's not going to replace my monitors, my real computer monitors for color correction and stuff like that. No, definitely not. But I do believe it will really help up the game when it comes to retouching. And I will also point out to you that if you are one of these photographers who does all your retouching work on a laptop, which personally, just gonna be honest with you, I don't get the point behind doing that, right? Because unfortunately, laptop screens are still too small. Even if you're on a 16-inch, it's too small to be able to really see all the detail in your image without having to blow things up massively. But I will tell you that if you tend to work on a laptop for your retouching, this can be an outstanding utility to work with. So I will keep you guys in a loop. I gave you the link in the chat. Did I give you the link in the chat window? I thought I did. Yeah, I gave you the link in the chat window. So if you want to check it out, get all the specs, they're all there. There's also a couple of videos there that you can see what it looks like and how it works. Everything I'm reading about it so far, awesome. Tomorrow will be the day when I get to kind of plug it in and take a good look at it. So next up, actually a quick little piece of business and then we're ready. I have 2 new live interactive online presentations that are open for registration, but I'll tell you right now, they're both filling up pretty quickly. So the first one, it's on August, where am I at here? August 11th. It's all about shoot prep. This is the one that people have been asking for. This is the stuff that a lot of you ask me about here on TOGCHAT. And of course you get, the answers to a lot of the questions kind of really piecemeal. So in this presentation, I'm going to take you step by step through my entire process for planning a shoot. How I come up with ideas, how I collaborate with stylists, makeup artists, my models. The attendees at this presentation will get all that information, and they're going to receive downloads that include all of my shoot prep documents that I use with my subjects and with my makeup artists. They're going to get all the email templates that I use for planning and organizing, and even the modeling release templates. Another one that I just added that is coming up right after that one, it's going to be on August 18th. It's the psychology and the techniques behind photographing beauty. In my career, which has involved people from the beginning, 80% of photographing people, it's psychology. That is applied as a photojournalist, it's applied as a portrait photographer, a wedding photographer, you name it. 20% of it, it's the art and the science of photography. So this presentation, what it's actually about, it's about the concept of communication and collaboration with your team and your subjects. So bottom line, those of you that struggle with giving directions, that struggle with knowing what to say, etc., you don't want to miss this one. And if you happen to be available tomorrow night and you're not doing anything, one more, and this one's free. It's called Critiques Suck. Photography critiques are traditionally nothing more than opinions that are offered by people who may be great at photography, but they have little or honestly no concern for you or for the reasons why you took the photograph or how you took it. So they offer you an opinion of what is wrong with your photograph based on their opinions, or worse yet, a bunch of creativity killer rules. So in this online presentation tomorrow night, I'll share the science behind why most photography critiques don't work. And I'll show you how to effectively ask for feedback on your work and how to properly give feedback that is useful and has a positive impact on the photographer. So I hope to see you in one of my classes soon. And the last piece of news, and then we'll get into the Q&A. I told you I got a lot of stuff for you guys tonight, right? I've been talking a lot about PPA lately, and in fact here, I can go ahead and I can switch my screen over and I'll leave that up there while I'm talking. I wanted to give you a heads up because they've completely overhauled the educational section of the PPA website. So if you're already a member, you need to go check it out, and if you're not a member, you should probably consider this. They've created a whole new educational platform with a new improved user interface that allows you to track your progress as you reach different milestones, and then apply that knowledge in real time as you're working on assignments and also in your real world business. So some of the features include 8 different curriculums. There's 25 topical deep dives, and you can also kind of create playlists along the way. They've got tons of instructors, more than 150, different instructors. There's even some guy named Joe Edelman on there. They're doing these deep dives, which are really cool. And there's stuff about branding certification. They're even doing stuff on Facebook. In fact, I've done a couple. You might recognize that picture. Definitely check it out. And if you're not a member of PPA yet, I'm just going to say, look, you're missing out. You really should check out the video that I did recently that is all about PPA. I will go ahead and I'll share a link for that video for you guys right now in the chat window, okay? And there we go. That's in the chat window. If you sign up for the organization, be sure to use the special link that I just gave you. It'll save you $25, right? And full disclosure, that is an affiliate link. I make a couple bucks if you do it. That's not the reason to sign up, though. As I've mentioned, I am a dues-paying member of the organization. I have been for many years, and I will tell you sincerely, it was one of the best decisions that I have ever made as a photographer. It has been a huge bonus for me as a photographer. Just the insurance alone, like the bomb, okay? All right, let's get into it. How can I help you improve your photography, right? So let me work backwards here tonight. We're gonna do it that way. So White Lion, signing up for the prep one, excellent. And trust me, just for the documents, it's worth it. It's gonna save you a lot of legwork. And I'll give you a little tip, which I will remind you during the presentation, White Lion. There is so much stuff in the prep document that I'm gonna give you guys. It's excessive. So while it's gonna help you out a lot, you're still gonna need to invest a little bit of time and go through and kind of trim it down to what you need for your shoot. Because you'll see when you get the document, there are things that are in there that may not apply to the kind of shoot you're doing. So it's really very broad, it's all inclusive, and I guarantee you it's gonna cover a lot of things that you've never thought of in terms of what should I communicate to a makeup artist or to my subject. And it's gonna cover a lot of things that your subjects have never thought of that will prevent them from unintentionally making mistakes that will make your shoot challenging or honestly just ruin your shoot, okay? So, Philip Dent, let's see here. Let me get my screen set up. See, Joe jumps in a little too fast. Let me get my questions so that I can pop them up on the screen for you guys to see them. And then we'll be good with that. Where are they? Where'd my questions go? I lost the questions. There they are. Okay, so Philip Dent, his question is, earlier you said that you have models change in a separate room, not a bad idea. But suppose the model is your wife or significant other. Do you still recommend following the rule for consistency? Well, I mean, Philip, if it's your wife, I mean, or significant other, I don't really see why that's even a question. It kind of doesn't matter, right? I will say this, okay? How do I put this the right way? From my relationship experience in my life, okay? I would probably not be photographing my wife or significant other for my portfolio or for work purposes. That's not to say that they are not attractive enough or would not make a good subject. That's just to say I usually, for my life, have kept those things very separate. But, I think really the answer to your question still depends on your wife or your significant other. And it will potentially depend on, are you working with a makeup artist and or a stylist? In other words, are there other people in the studio? Are they comfortable changing around them, etc.? So, those are the things that you need to basically factor in. So it's really still up to your subject in that sense. So Beverly, wish you could sign up for the prep, but not working, as in the page isn't working. The page should be working. Let me just double check it. Yeah, it's working. So you might want to try a different browser or possibly refresh the page, Beverly. But yeah, it's working. In fact, I had tested these right before I came online, so I know they're good to go. Okay. Joe's Photography. I just ordered my i1 Studio calibration for your monitor. Good for you. Good for you. In fact, I am going to put together a video shortly about creating camera profiles using essentially lookup tables for your monitor devices and also for Photoshop. It's something that I just started doing a couple of months ago. I'll be completely honest. After all these years, I've never bothered doing it. A few months ago, I got started doing it, and now I do it for everything. And I'll tell you what, it's awesome. It just really streamlines the process. So I will share that soon. Your question here is, how often should you do the calibration on your devices? People that are crazy do it like once a week. For me, I do it once a month. I would recommend that you actually follow the directions in your device. The reason I say that is different manufacturers have different directions for different devices in terms of what their recommended is. They will all give you the ability to, kind of choose, I'll do it every week, every 3 weeks, every 5 weeks, whatever. But read their recommendations, and that's what I would follow. I think that's, since they've designed this thing and obviously, dealt with all the science behind it, that's going to be the best way to go. And that's kind of always been my working philosophy as far as that goes. Okay. All right. Let's see, from Jerry here. I'm a portrait photographer and I'm shooting in my home and in homes. I'm opening up a small studio space. Am I insane during this time to do this? Low overhead, and I have all the equipment. Jerry, not insane at all, as long as you're smart about it, okay? So what I will share with you, Jerry, and then I will encourage you, hey, like if you have any, specific questions as you go through this, by all means, make sure you come back and ask me the questions. But I would recommend that you go to my YouTube channel. And I'm going to share the link with you, but go to the YouTube channel. We're going to click on the little magnifying glass here so that we're searching my channel, not all of YouTube. And I am just going to type in home studio. And I have a very detailed video that I did about 3 years ago, but it is going to walk you through my entire home studio setup. Also talk a little bit about the decision to do that, and also some of the concerns I had about the idea of, basically saying, like, hey, come to my house and let's shoot in my basement. I can tell you honestly that I have never had a subject object to doing it, but it's all in the way that you present yourself. Absolutely. So check out that video. If you still have questions after that, don't hesitate. Come on back and ask, and I will do my darndest to help you out. Okay? All right. Bob, with regards to model prep, I asked models not to smoke or drink alcohol within a few hours before the shoot. Stay hydrated. So I asked that they keep water handy. Anything you can share tonight? I already shared the link for my class. Bob, you want me to give away the class tonight? I will tell you this. A couple hours? Pointless. It's not enough. Simply not enough. Okay? You need to have them staying hydrated and forgetting the smoking and all that kind of stuff well in advance of that. But we do get into that area, during that presentation. Okay. Oh, Bob, don't worry. I'm just giving you grief, man. But yeah, I promise that's the kind of stuff we talk about. It's the kind of stuff that a lot of people simply don't think about. I get into like what they should eat the morning of a shoot. I get into when's the last time they should wash their hair. We talk about fingernails. We talk about everything. And as I've explained it to you guys many times, basically this prep has come about from anything and everything that has ruined a shot, gotten in the way of a shoot, or just caused me grief over all of these years of photographing models. That's become part of my prep. Okay. So yeah, that's all of that stuff is actually in there, and water, hydrating. I will tell you this, Bob, I supply the water. I always have a very, very solid supply of bottled water in my studio. For a lot of years, I did have actually a really cool kind of desktop water cooler. I gave up on that probably about 6 or 7 years ago because I just realized ultimately from the standpoint of hygiene and keeping things clean and all that. So this was, of course, pre-COVID. Now, especially, God, I would never think of doing something like that. The water bottle is definitely the way to go. And let's face it, water bottles are so cheap at this point. That's easy. Okay. Torgier, I find myself picking up film cameras more often. Do you ever shoot film? Try-its in my case. Do you have any points of view on how you would use film shooting to hone your overall skills? So, first of all, I would say good for you. Seriously, I don't shoot film. I joke at this point in my career, film is a 4-letter word. Don't use 4-letter words. I am really, really, really very glad that I learned with film, because I am not the most disciplined person in the world, and film forces a certain discipline on your learning curve. So for me, it was the perfect learning situation. That being said, I think, how would you use it to hone your overall skills? I think the act of shooting film and striving and working towards developing more consistency with your exposures, that in and of itself is going to help you hone your skills. Because that is, if you are making strides to improve there and you're legitimately improving your consistency, then that means you are getting a better handle on the relationships, not the exposure triangle. If you didn't attend my online presentation, you know that the exposure triangle is bunk. Forget the exposure triangle. It's just a memory tool. It doesn't teach you anything. So for those of you that are proud of yourself because you know what the exposure triangle is, good for you. It's like, okay, I can tie my shoes. So what? It's not helping your photography at all. Okay. The important thing is understanding the relationships between the 3 sides of the exposure triangle. And I don't mean light, dark, and that crap. No, not at all. So film is going to force you to learn those relationships. It's going to force you to put that all to practice. That honestly, that alone is going to help you develop your skills. So yeah, I mean, anybody that's got the patience, because it does require patience, right? Anyone that's got the patience to work with film at this point, I say, great, good for you. Honestly, the only beef that I have with film today, I'll get myself in trouble for this, but look, I'm honest, okay? It's the photographers who are mostly young. So I hate to have to be the old guy saying it, but you get photographers today that are like bragging, I shot this on film. Like, yeah, this is great because it's on film. film is not a badge of honor. People don't care. The only people that care you shot it on film are other people with cameras. And half of those other people with cameras are thinking, you're an idiot for putting in all that work, because they just are, right? So the reality of it is, okay, you know, it's great for you if it works, if you like the feel, if you like the vibe, if you like the process, awesome. Don't let anybody tell you that you shouldn't, okay? But understand it doesn't make your work any different, better, etc. It's film. It's another way to create a picture. Just like, you know, you could use this camera or this lens or that lens. It's another tool in the process. But I would suggest that just the process of doing it, that's going to help you a lot with building your skill sets. Okay? All right. Scrolling on up here. I talked about the calibration device. Talked about the models, prep workshop, Viking Reborn. I've been eyeballing the Cintiq, the Wacom for a while. It's very pricey, yes. Does that greatly improve your workflow, or is it more convenience once you get past the learning curve, presets, etc.? So, okay, honestly, Viking, I don't know the answer, but I will tell you soon. As I mentioned, so I'm very, very fortunate. I have not paid for this XP pen. It was given to me. It was given to me on the terms, which are anytime I allow a manufacturer to give me a piece of gear, I make very clear terms to them. So to give you guys a little bit of insight into how this YouTube stuff works, okay? I literally get on average about 100 to 150 emails per week from companies, mostly in China, mostly selling on Amazon. We want to send you this. And I'm talking, the funny part is, it's everything. It's everything from like camera equipment to socks. Like, it really is. And it's like, okay, why do you think I would make a video about socks, right? But anyway, you get this stuff. So obviously the majority of it, I actually take the time to respond politely because I don't want it. I'm not interested in that stuff. And, you know, I will tell them, please remove me from your list. Thank you. And most of them do. They're actually really good about it. Generally for me, the companies that I have chosen to show off their gear or work with their gear, I've reached out to them because I had an interest in their gear. But I had honestly never heard of this company. They reached out to me. I'm familiar with the Cintiqs, but one, because of price, two, because of size. And I'm not saying that Wacom or the Cintiqs are bad because of that, but that was the only knowledge I had of graphic tablets at that point. Conceptually, I think they're like an awesome idea. So I was certainly, you know, interested, but certainly from a distance. My thought process is, you know, no way would I be spending that kind of money. This puppy's expensive enough, right? So I would not be going in that direction. So when I found out about this, I definitely was intrigued. So normally I respond to those emails really quickly with the kind of like, you know, thank you, but no thank you. So with these guys, it actually took me a day, but I went online. I did a lot of research in terms of checked out some YouTube videos from people that do, you know, reviews and that. Went ahead and checked out a bunch of reviews on their products and got surprisingly, and I say surprisingly because I'd never heard of them, but it's surprisingly great reviews. So I thought, okay, so let's look at the specs on this thing. And they had reached out to me before they actually announced it. So this is a brand new product. It's brand new in the market. July 1st, I think, was July 1st or 4th was the announcement. They were giving me the information kind of in dribs and drabs. So I was also kind of dragging my feet, not gonna lie, I wanted to know what it was. Once they gave me all the specs, I'm like, this thing looks really cool. I knew, at least in my mindset, right from the beginning, I would not be interested in using it to replace a monitor. Now, what I have been seeing on YouTube from people that have been using it in the last couple days is that the image clarity and the brightness is actually amazing. It's not going to replace my monitor because I do pay attention to color calibration. But where I'm really excited about being able to use it is the idea of having the image in front of me down here. It does have a little stand, so it sits on like a small tilt angle, comes with it, okay? I'm excited about the idea of if I'm working on a face, basically being able to blow up that face in the frame and, okay, there's a pimple with my, you know, healing brush and my pen, just, you know, be able to cover that pimple. Boom, right there in front of me. Certainly, I've been using a tablet long enough. I'm comfortable with the idea of my hand being down here and me looking up at a screen, which is right here. So normally when I'm retouching, you know, this is kind of where I'm at. And then my right hand, I'm a lefty, my right hand is on the control buttons of the Wacom. But the idea of actually just being able to sit, relax, and look down, especially for me, I wear trifocals. So there's actually 3 lenses in here. The bottom ones are my reading glasses. So this is like a perfect height for me. So that's where I'm really excited about it. Also, because of its size, when I travel, it's thin enough and light enough, it would be really easy for me to put it like in a pouch and throw it in a suitcase. And so like if I, you know, did a workshop one day and I'm sitting in a hotel room that night and I want to go ahead and do some retouching, I rarely prep my work on the road because I just don't like retouching on a laptop. So this actually gives me the retouching surface to work with. And then I can use the laptop for color correction because I do calibrate my laptop. So that's, I know that was a long answer, but I hope that helps. So I don't know that it's so much a matter of, you know, oh, it's going to greatly improve, but I do think it's going to make a substantial difference. These type of graphic tablets that we're talking about, they're still not cheap. Even the XP Pen, the one that I'm showing you, this, so again, this is the Innovator 16 is what they're calling it. It's got a $500 price tag, okay? So let's be really clear. It's not like something you're going to pick up for $100. But compared to a Wacom Cintiq, it's a fraction of the cost, okay? So that's kind of why I'm really excited about it. These are fairly new technology, which means the good news for all of us, the prices will continue to come down, right? Just like anything else, the more the technology gets used and as we, you know, go down the pike, the prices are going to come down even further and they're going to become more affordable. And they'll probably even get bigger if you want to have a bigger service like the Cintiqs, et cetera. So yeah, I'm excited about seeing, you know, how it can work for my workflow. I do think that it's definitely going to be something that I'm going to adopt and work with pretty steady. And even from the standpoint of, you know, I can imagine myself using it with my video editing workflow to be able to manage a lot of things. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it because keep in mind, it's essentially giving you another monitor, right? So I have an iMac Pro here. I have, you know, equal size screen over here, and then that's actually going to give me a third monitor that's attached, you know, to the same computer. So that's also definitely kind of one of the cool features of, you know, the setup. I mean, certainly I'm an Apple guy, so like I could use my iPad Pro as a third display because that's built into the Apple iOS now. But you know, that's tiny, right? So yeah. I think it's definitely got a lot of promise. Okay, and let's see, Adam, looking forward to the review specifically to see if there are any lag or pen pressure issues. Me too. I will tell you this. So these are not my words, but from everything I have been seeing in the reviews so far, it's awesome. So in fact, I'm trying to remember the metric. I'm going to get it wrong, so I didn't want to say it. I think it's pressure points. The XP Pen actually exceeds what Wacom does with their tablets. So again, I'll let you know for sure, but everything I've been reading so far, it actually does incredibly well. Okay. Tim Satterfield, okay, took your advice, bought the 8200. All right. That won't do the group of 35, but should do smaller groups just fine. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you know, I would argue, Tim, as far as the group of 35, it's not going to fill the whole group, so it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. But yeah, I mean, as we talked about when that came up before, you're going to need more than one light there. But smaller groups, one light portraits, even just basically being able to do like an outdoor portrait with a little bit of fill, maybe with an umbrella or a softbox, the 8200 will be awesome for that. So enjoy it. I think you will like it. Okay. All right. Scrolling on up here. Let's see. Adam Batchelor, any good resources that you'd suggest for retouching portraits in a painterly fine art style other than YouTube? And did you teach yourself? So if you're talking about retouching, yes, I'm self-taught. Now, let's be clear. Self-taught in today's world, right, includes going out to YouTube and, finding resources along the way. I'm a big believer with life. The day that I stop learning, I'm done, right? I grew up, and old people, they were the clueless ones, because the old people are the ones like, it was so much better back in the day. And it drives me crazy now because I'm of that age. And so many of my friends and relatives, they've turned into those people. It's like, it was so much better back in the day. I'm like, no. I honestly love change. I love innovation. I find it exciting to see what this can bring to us. Yeah, just like anybody of any age, sometimes I get frustrated that I've kind of got to relearn all new technology to be able to do something. But it's worth it. The payoff is worth it, right? So, I've taught myself with the help of Google and YouTube over the years, but I'm still teaching myself. And I feel that honestly, it's a responsibility. Given the amount of teaching that I do, I feel that it's imperative that I keep learning and keep teaching, because we are in an industry, if you will, or a field or an endeavor where the technology and the processes and the techniques they're changing and they're advancing at lightning speed. Fortunately, I think that's cool. But it requires, keeping up with it and learning. And like I said, I admit it tonight, but I was a little embarrassed. Like, I didn't even know this company existed, this XP Pen. Turns out they've got this amazing product line that gets actually really, really good reviews. So I'm very excited about learning about it. I mean, I've been very happy with Wacom over the years, not going to lie, but I had no idea that they really had competition. They were really the only company that I knew of that was making, really good high-end tablets. So, now, the first part of your question, Adam, do I know any good resources for retouching portraits in a painterly fine art style? Honestly, I don't. I'm sorry. My personal taste, I'm not a big fan of kind of the old school look or the painter look. A lot of photographers are, and it's actually kind of really trendy today. It's having a little bit of a kind of a resurgence. Topaz has a program, and I, for the life of me, cannot remember which of the Topaz programs it is. But I know my fellow Olympus Visionary, Scott Bourne, who's the bird guy, he's been doing some gorgeous painter-type images using one of the Topaz plugins. And okay, now that I said that, stop, understand, anytime you're using those programs, I know in Scott's case in particular, you don't just buy the plugin and go click and phew, you've got a painterly look, right? He customizes everything in his. But unfortunately, I don't have any specific resources for that, Adam. I'm sorry. I really wish I knew where to tell you. Unfortunately, I would send you to to YouTube. That would be where I start. The Light Stalker. Joe, talk about V-flats. Well, actually, I'm working on a video about V-flats, but for now, what can I tell you about V-flats, Light Stalker? I love them. I use them. I think they are the bomb. I'm actually really ticked at the company that makes them, which is V-flats, because I wish they would have come out with them about 30 years ago. Okay? Like, literally, I wish they would have come out with them about 30 years ago. But no, they're awesome. But if you have a specific question that I can answer for you tonight, tell me, and I will gladly share. If you go through my Instagram profile, understand that all of my Instagram posts, if you swipe, there's lighting diagrams and that kind of stuff. You'll find a lot of images that were done with V-flats, and you'll see them in the lighting diagrams and in also the description, the comment underneath the video. So, I've been using them for a while. Absolutely love them. I have 2 sets of them, so I've got 4 of them, and they're great. Okay, highly recommend them. So, Michael Radloff was here's another film question. What film is the big thing tonight, huh? Okay. We know that film is a 4-letter word, but what do you think of photographers going back to film? I think, and again, not trying to be smart, Michael, but I'm sure you heard my previous answer talking about film. Who cares? I mean, that sounds horrible. I didn't mean it that way. It's like, it's kind of like us. Okay, I full disclosure, right? A photographer who was a member of my mentoring group. I won't name his name. In fact, I think he's here. I think I saw his name go by, but he sent me a message the other night and, Joe, don't be mad at me. And he was an Olympus user. Notice I said was. Right? He's like, Joe, don't be mad at me. But I switched. Why would I be mad? I mean, unfortunately, a lot of people are switching right now, given the news and everything else. But, if to me, it doesn't matter. Like, I would not use film. I have no interest in using film. But to be completely honest, you know why? I don't have the time. I simply don't have the time or the patience. I can't keep up with all my work so as it is. So, but yeah, I mean, Michael, if you're into it, like seriously, I would say that I would encourage anyone that can make the time to try film, to one, just to have an understanding and an appreciation of the difference between film and digital, but two, also to realize that part of the reason why film was great, and I mentioned this before, it forced a discipline, which you don't have that with digital photography. For a lot of years, I was one of those photographers who, if you asked me what's the best way to learn photography, I would have said, you have to learn on film. You can't learn photography on digital. And I was one of those guys for a little while, not long. And fortunately, I woke up and realized, no. Like, so, because I started asking myself, why did you have to learn on film? Like, why do I feel that way? And I realized it was the discipline piece. So if you are capable of behaving in a disciplined way, and that means practice, that means work hard, learn, et cetera, there's no reason you can't learn and learn well on digital. But that's what digital did. So Josh was helping me out here. Topaz Studio 2 and Topaz Impressions. I think it's Impressions that Scott plays around with. And indeed, Corel Painter, I have heard of that now that you guys mention it. So yeah, I mean, try them out. The good part about most softwares, I do not know this for a fact about those two folks, but I'm just saying the good part about most of those types of softwares today, you can download a free trial, check it out, get a sense of it. And then, of course, there's Google and there's YouTube where you go and you look for some comparisons. Just understand that anytime you're on Google and you're looking for comparisons between softwares, pay really close attention to the articles that you're reading because they are frequently written by one of the two software companies. Even though it's not on their website, even though it's not directly credited to them, if you pay attention, you'll pick up the clues. It's written by one of the two companies. So make sure that you're, reading reviews from a source that you can trust, that you know is giving you an objective review. I've mentioned before in the past that I use a lot of SaaS solutions, software as a solution, pieces of software to run my business and work with my website and that. And anytime you go to Google and you look up comparison information on a SaaS solution, 80% of the articles that come up are written by one of the two companies you're trying to compare. So it's ridiculous the amount of spam that they dump out there to try and, load up the search results. So you got to use a little bit of common sense when you do that too. But, so, okay. Scrolling on back here. Pix and Perfect just did a review for software portraits into paintings. Cool. Awesome. So, Tony C, how do you find the motivation to keep shooting? I wake up and tell myself I'm going to go out and shoot after work, and after work I find myself on the couch. Day after day, I always have an excuse. So, Tony, you're not going to like my answer. But maybe if I'm lucky, it'll motivate you in the right direction. I would suggest that if you are not motivated, then maybe you should just pack it in and give up. Walk away from it. You can all breathe. I know everybody's collective jaw is just like hit the table. Like, did he just say that? Yeah, I did actually. So a couple of things there. Let me unpack that so you understand what I'm trying to get at, guys. Okay. When I do find myself unmotivated, the best thing for me to do is put the camera down, walk away from it, and not pick it up until I am motivated. And if I'm not motivated again, then I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to tell myself, maybe I shouldn't be doing this anymore, right? Because honestly, that's really what it comes down to. If you're not motivated to pick up your camera, that's kind of a problem. It's problematic, right? It's not like a disease that you solve. It's not like I have a cold, I need to take medicine, right? For me, photography has never been a job. It rarely feels like work. I work my butt off, but it's not something where I feel like, oh God, okay. If that were the case, like, why do it? So, you kind of have to ask yourself in that sense, like, maybe I'm kind of done with this, right? Or maybe you simply just do need a break. And there's nothing wrong with taking a break, folks. Yes, I'm, and not to send mixed messages. I'm a big believer in, pick that camera up every day, do something photography related. Absolutely. But hopefully the understanding is there. And maybe I need to be clear about that when I say it. You've got to have that motivation. If you don't have the motivation, then why do it, right? Do something that you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. That's a lesson that's been phrased and paraphrased, many, many times over, but it's true. That's the whole point, right? So I see Tony had another question here. If you had to shoot JPEG, would you convert them to the HEIC format to save space? No, not at all. Or keep them in JPEG. I recently converted all my photos to HEIC, and my album went from 150 gigs to 32 gigs. See, and Tony, this is for those of you that might have missed it, this is the same person that just asked about the motivation. See, I would, based on that question right there, Tony, I would suggest that maybe you're missing the point. Maybe photography is not really what you're into. Maybe you're more of like an engineering mindset and you're into the technical stuff. Hard drives are cheap, man. Like, they're cheap. First of all, 150 gigs is like nothing. If you had 150 gigs worth of JPEGs, I would first say to you, what about your raw files? Where are they at? And then I would say to you, if you've only got 150 gigs of files, you need to take a heck of a lot more pictures because you're not learning. Not at 150 gigs. Not even close. That's like nothing. So, yeah, no, I wouldn't worry about those conversions at all. I'm not one of those people that believes, oh my God, well, we're going to get to the point where we're not going to be able to put our JPEGs. No. There are so many images that are JPEGs in the current JPEG format. Yes, will we evolve beyond that someday? Absolutely. May it be the HEIC? If Apple has their way, it will be, but who knows? But the fact of the matter is there are so many JPEGs. The industry is not just going to drop them and move on. This is not going to be a Sony Betamax thing, right? The industry doesn't do that. Sony does that. The industry doesn't do that. Sorry, I had to do that. Just kidding, folks. But no, seriously, you'll be able to open JPEGs hundreds of years from now. You will. It just, again, look at history. It makes sense. You will. So I don't think that that's going to be a concern at all. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Scrolling back up. Got that one. Let's see, towards here, I shoot black and white with the OM4, which can spot meter eight separate spots, an image, and average the results for useful. Do you have any process to do something similar to the EM1 Mark II? You can create similar processes with the way the metering's set up towards here, but why? I mean, the EM1 Mark II is mirrorless, right? So I'm using an EVF. So it's not a film camera where I have to take the picture and wait 7 days to find out how bad I suck, right? I find out immediately, right? But I don't use my light meter in that way because I don't have to with a mirrorless camera. I mean, folks, you got to understand that in mirrorless cameras, there's a great argument to say that you kind of don't need a light meter anymore. Now, I'm not saying I want them to get rid of them. I'm just saying you kind of don't need a light meter anymore because you're seeing the finished image in real time, right? So, the bigger problem is we have all these photographers now that have mirrorless cameras with electronic viewfinders, and yet they still underexpose and overexpose their images. How the heck do you do that? How do you take a picture that's too dark or too light when you can see it in the moment that you take it? Like, I don't get that, right? I just don't. But that's a whole different rant. We'll save that for a different day, right? So, yeah, well, no, I mean, it's not duh, because if you're not using, Eric, man, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. So, if you're not using a mirrorless, obviously, then, you're not going to think that way. But that's the great thing about mirrorless is that you're seeing your image real time. And by the way, if you're in a studio where you've turned off the real-time exposure settings, you're also not running gunning in a studio. So it's really easy to, chimp and take a quick look at your image. So there's really kind of, there's really no reason, to go to all that trouble. So let's see here. David, thank you for letting Beverly know that. Yeah, so David just mentioned about my presentations online. They're all recorded, and they're available for 48 hours after the live presentation. So yes, if you sign up, register, all that stuff, and if for some reason last minute your schedule changes, you can't make it, you miss out on the interactive part, and you miss out on the opportunity to ask questions, but for 48 hours afterwards, you'll have access to the whole presentation via video, as well as the downloads and that kind of stuff. So that is certainly an option. David, thank you for throwing that out there. Okay. All right. I still got 3 minutes, guys. You got any more questions? I'm going back to the beginning. I think I missed something in the beginning here. Oh, Eric had a question way back in the beginning. There it is. Eric, what's your opinion of software like ProSelect for IPS and Successware for studio management? Do you feel they're worthwhile tools or a waste of money? Would you suggest any alternatives? So let's break that down. For those of you that do not know what all that means, IPS is in-person sales. So bottom line, as a portrait photographer or a wedding photographer, if you want to make real money, you have to show your images in person afterwards, okay? You're not going to just post proofs online and have people order from there and make a load of money. You're just not. There is so much research, so many statistics, so much proof. You're not going to make the big bucks that way, right? So that being said, if you're not familiar here, I actually brought it up on the screen because Eric put this question in early. Let me grab that out of the way so I can see. So software like ProSelect, it's kind of cool in the sense, and actually Successware does, not Successware, excuse me. What's the other one? Printmaker System. That's it. God, I completely lost out of my mind there. These do similar things. They basically help you create display information that you can put on a computer and then you can project it, etc. Where you can even like show your images already framed, hanging on a wall. You can actually have your client take pictures of their rooms and send you the pictures, and then this software will allow you really, really easily to create an image of the room, like with the pictures hanging on the wall, all that kind of stuff. Help you set up automated processes to be able to send the files out to labs after you've gotten the orders, all that type of thing. This stuff is not free, right? So as an example, like for time exposure here, where did I see the price? I might not say, buy on this. So, or the Pro Select, excuse me, not Time Exposure. Time Exposure is the company. You're looking at like $429 to buy it one time out. And then, of course, you're going to have to pay for upgrades down the road. And that's for the basic, or you're looking at $29 a month. So, Eric, the way that I approach this kind of stuff with people, and the same goes with Successware. I mean, you could look at programs like Honeybook, even things like 17 Hats, that type of stuff for the studio management aspects. They're very valuable and they're great provided that you are committed to making money. So I am kind of the mindset that the fact that you are asking me this question, what do I think of them? Do I think that they're worth it? That says to me, you're not ready for it yet. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that as my advice. I am of the mindset that, if you're working or planning to work, and run a business as a photographer and you can't afford $29 a month, well, that's kind of problematic, right? But I'd rather turn it around and say, if you're working, if you're building your business, and the things that this software does for you are the things that are making you feel overwhelmed right now, if they're the things that are kind of the bottleneck in your workflow, then you're ready. Until that time, you're not ready. So that's why I approach it. Now, here's the challenge. What I would suggest to you is, Tony C., thank you so much for the super chat. I'll get your question in just a second. What I would suggest to you, though, is do the research on all of them. And here's why. So these programs that you're talking about, Time Exposure, Pro Select and all these, they are essentially SaaS solutions, right? Software as a solution, or software as a service, okay? The challenge with this type of software, there's no perfect one. It's kind of like cameras. There's a lot of really great cameras, but there's no perfect camera. There's no single camera that's perfect, right? So your challenge is finding the one that kind of checks off the most boxes for you. So be really, really careful about even asking like another portrait photographer, like, so, hey, which do you use and why? And then saying, okay, great, I gotta go buy it. Because a lot of it comes down to the workflow and how much are you able to customize the workflow to fit your needs, the way you like to work, etc. But if you're at a point where it's these tools, or I should say these tasks, that are making you feel kind of overwhelmed and are becoming the bottleneck in your workflow, then yeah, I mean, absolutely. I've talked about it a lot in the context of Photoshop, but it applies to business as well. One of the great things with all the technology that we have in this world today, from a business standpoint, you have to develop a mindset that says, anytime I find myself doing repetitive tasks over and over and over again, find a way to automate it. Find a way to streamline it. Find a way to simplify it. In Photoshop, that's like making actions and things like that, okay? But again, you want to automate as much of your process as possible because the technology can. That's the whole idea behind it, right? So, all right. Tony had a question here. Let me go find it. This was a super chat. How smooth was your transition from OVF to EVF? I recently switched and I love WYSIWYG, but I'm uncomfortable looking at an LCD screen. It feels unnatural. So there was definitely, an adaptation period. For sure, Tony. Keep in mind also, I'm an Olympus shooter. So, when people are in the mood to go gripe about cameras, some people will gripe that Olympus doesn't have a higher resolution EVF. Now, they have a very specific and clear-cut mission statement behind why they don't do it. They could do it, but then you run into a lot of problems for shooting sports and wildlife, which is something that Olympus gears towards. So they made the choice to go with a lower resolution EVF, so that you bypass that problem. Cameras like Sony, Nikon, Canon, they have higher resolution EVFs, which are going to give you kind of the clearer, more colorful, sharper image, but they also have problems with the refresh rates when it comes to, shooting high speed, etc. And that's why they're still making DSLRs, and their DSLRs, like the Nikon D6, are more geared towards professional sports and wildlife shooters, right? So anyway, that being said, it's just about adapting to it and getting accustomed to it. I don't use the EVF in the sense of mindset-wise. This is my finished picture, and this is exactly how it's going to look. I am very aware in my mindset that, you know, obviously the finished picture is going to have better color. The finished image is going to have better clarity, not sharpness, clarity. Okay. But I'm absolutely fine with that. I still, you know, being able to walk away from that shutter release, knowing that I've got an image that's sharp, it's in focus, it's the moment that I want, it's properly exposed. That's amazing. But yeah, it takes, you know, some adapting to. That's like with any piece of equipment. But I will tell you, Tony, I don't know like which brand you switched from and to, etc. But if you pick up a Nikon, pick up a Canon, pick up a Sony, then pick up an Olympus, a Panasonic, a Fuji, their EVFs all look and feel a little different. So if it becomes a big stumbling block for you and you start looking to make a change from where you're at now, make sure you get those other cameras in your hands. Don't just assume it's going to be better. And don't assume it'll be better because the specs are better. Trust me. Okay, because keep in mind that the cameras are also doing processing of the raw image to get you that JPEG image in that EVF. So there's a lot of things that contribute to how does that EVF image look. So don't just assume because it's got better numbers that it's going to be a better image, right? So they are really different. Okay. Let's see here. Let's try and get in one or two more last questions here. Charles, I'm struggling to find a way to develop my use of color and tones. I would prefer to find my own style than use a LUT. Okay, that's cool. Why use a LUT? I mean, you don't have to. So, advice-wise, I would tell you to spend more time in Photoshop and, you know, working on it. If you're asking me, Charles, how can I get to the point where I can apply like a one-click color process, kind of which is what you can do with LUTs, I'm not a fan of that at all. I don't care what my style is or what I'm trying to do. I'm just not a fan of that. But that's my personal taste. You know, obviously in the Instagram world, especially, people love one click, there it is. Okay. It's not for me to decide that's bad. It's just, that's not the way I like to do things. Okay. I have a style, but every image is still unique within that. And I want to process that image uniquely. But just because you hear, you know, you check out YouTube or you go to the photo blogs and, you know, every other article is talking about LUTs and all this kind and color grading and all that kind of stuff, doesn't mean you have to do that. No. I hate to tell you, unfortunately, I would argue that probably 60 to 70% of the people that are doing that stuff, they're not coming up with a result that required they do it, meaning it's not worth it. So that would be my take on it. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Tina, my challenge with an EVF as an outdoor shooter is that it's hard to really see the screen. Tina, it sounds like you're talking about two different things. Are you talking about the LCD screen on the back? That's not an EVF. An EVF is when you put your eye up to the viewfinder, and it's got an eye cup. So give me a little bit more input there, Tina. But the EVF is the viewfinder, where you look through the camera or into the camera. The screen in the back is an LCD, and yeah, in sunlight, the LCD is impossible to see. But then you get a hoodman. Here, if you don't know what a hoodman is, let me pull up hoodman. These guys are awesome. The hoodman hoods are the bomb. You just get what they call hood loop. So here it is right here. Little gadget like that, and it sits right over your LCD screen, blocks out all the sunlight, allows you to see the LCD really, really well. Comes with like a lanyard that you can, wear it around your neck so you don't lose it. It's got a diopter built in, so you can adjust the diopter just like you adjust the diopter in your viewfinder, plus 1, 2, or 3, that type of thing. But if you're having problems with your actual EVF, that's a whole nother issue. But if you're putting your eye up to the viewfinder, that shouldn't be an issue. So the fact that you say screen makes me think that you're kind of mixing the two of what they are. EVF is the viewfinder. LCD screen is what you're seeing in this picture where they've got the hood over top of it. Okay, so that's what the whole thing looks like. It even has a tripod socket on it. You can take the eyepiece off and just use it as a sunshade for the LCD if you don't want to have the diopter on it. Yeah, these things are absolutely great. I have a Hoodman. I've used Hoodmans for years. I don't use them nearly enough now that I am a mirrorless shooter with EVF as I used to. But when I shot with Nikon and that kind of stuff, oh, absolutely. So, yeah, that was totally the way that I worked. Okay. All right, Tony, another super chat. All right, so here. First of all, thank you. Let's get this one, and then I got to wrap up here, guys. For personal photos, how do you organize them? By date, scenes, faces, or type of events? Tony, so for me to give you the whole answer right now, we don't have enough time. But here's what I'll do for you, Tony. Bear with me 1 second. Let me switch my screen over here, and I'm gonna show you this. Next Tuesday, July 21st. I am doing an online presentation. It's called File Management. Create a system before it's too late. And it will explain to you everything about my filing system, how I do it, and what other options there are for how to file. So, without getting super techie, it comes down to making a decision between using a hierarchical or a non-hierarchical filing system. Okay? So, Tony, I'll tell you what I'll do. Since you were kind enough to give me the 2 super chats tonight, if you send me an email, my email address is real simple. It's joe@joeedelman.com, right? Send me an email after TOGCHAT tonight. I will go ahead and I will register you for this for free. It's a $15 registration normally, okay? But as a thank you for your super chats, I'll register you for this for free. It's next Tuesday night. If you can't make it Tuesday night, just like the others, it'll be available for 48 hours, 2 days. You'll be able to watch it. I'd much rather you get the detailed response. That will help you out a whole lot more than me kind of giving you like a 50,000 foot overview of it right now, because honestly, that'll probably just confuse you even more. So just email me and I'll gladly I'll sign you up for that one. Okay. Tina, sorry, yes, I'm messing up my terminology. Okay. Tina, don't worry. It's all cool. I mean, that's why we're here. We're here to learn. So, and the good part of it is you learned about a hood loop, right? So look into them. If you have any doubts, Tina, I know you're out. I think you're out in Seattle, neck of the woods. So you're out there with like Glazers and Kenmore and those guys. If you're not sure, make sure, Charles, thank you so much, man. If you're not sure, Tina, once those stores open up, make a trip. They stock that stuff. They have it. So that way you can actually see it, get a feel for it. But they're great. And I know you like to do a lot of outdoor stuff and that. So that's the best part of it. You just basically hang it around your neck. So it's with you the whole time. You're not going to lose it that way. And they are super, super awesome for looking at that LCD screen. Because keep in mind, it's also magnifying the LCD screen, which is like great. Okay. All right, gang, I'm talked out. It is after 7, shocker. I am late again by like 15 minutes already. Okay. So, hey, as always, thank you all so much. Great conversation again, man. We are on a roll. We are really on a roll. It only took me like 200 some talk chats to like get this down, but I appreciate it. So all of you, please find time to shoot. No matter what it is, just shoot. I'm actually going to take pictures tomorrow of my 2 young grandsons and their brand new Bernese Mountain Dog puppy. So should be a lot of fun. And I will share some of the stuff. So anyway, have a great week. I hope to see all of you next week. And you know the drill, gang. As always, please remember these words.
Thanks for watching another live episode of TOGCHAT. Now, pick up that camera and shoot something, because your best shot is your next shot. So keep learning, keep thinking, and keep shooting. Adios.